Hey everyone, I'm Alicia White, the CEO and founder of Back of the Room Productions. I am so happy to be able to share my presentation today called Stop Cold Calling, Grow Your Business with Speaking. I don't know about you, but I know that if I give a list of names that I need to call to sell them on a service or my product, I get cold feet. I cannot stand cold calling. It's not so much that I'm afraid people are going to reject me as a person. It's just, I don't like it. I'm not a salesy person, a pushy person. And I think people who do cold calling successfully are amazing people, but it's just not for me. So when I was wanting to grow my business, I started looking around to see what other coaches and designers and freelancers were doing. They were speaking. They were speaking to grow their business. And I thought, well, I can talk. Well, let me try that. And you know what? It worked. So when I'm talking to you today, I'll be delivering some strategies that I think you're going to really benefit from. Number one, we're going to talk about how to deliver value to your audience. Number two, I'll share ideas on when to say yes to speaking events. And number three, I can't wait to talk about the speaking tools that will grow your business every time you speak. My own public speaking journey started out when I was a little girl. No, just kidding. No, it didn't. I became a speaker about 8-9 years ago. And I had to by necessity. When I started Back of the Room Productions, I realized that coaches, entrepreneurs, freelancers, small business owners were looking for a way to not just speak in front of an audience, but they wanted to be able to give their message legs long after they left the stage. They didn't have tools to generate leads. They didn't have branding to set them apart from other speakers and coaches. They didn't have certain systems put in place to help them be successful at speaking. Sure, they could get on a stage and speak, but if it didn't return a client or a lead, what was the purpose if they were using speaking to grow their business? So I help people with those steps. I direct people through a series of steps on how to be successful at speaking so you can grow your business. I didn't start out that way. I started out that way as a coach and a designer for visual branding, but I didn't start out as a speaker until in 2012, I joined the Public Speakers Association, and the organizer asked me to speak at one of her events in Maryland. And I was on my way to Maryland. I know it sounds weird. I'm in Dallas, Texas, but I was going to Maryland for a conference, and they set up an event the night before for me to speak at. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to speak about? Because, oh my gosh, I don't know if they want to hear what I have to say about branding. I don't know if they want to hear the things that a designer does. I was so nervous, y'all. And I had created my PowerPoint slides. Well, guess what? When I went there, the event host did not have a computer that connected to the projector. So all of my slides were useless. I had created this beautiful, powerful PowerPoint presentation that was going to get me through this 45-minute speech. And now I was stuck with standing in front of an audience of people, and they were just going to be looking at me and not my PowerPoint. I was so nervous. There were about 21 people in the room. Again, my very first speaking event ever in another state. I guess that was a good thing. I could always leave and never come back. But the thing is as I started speaking, and people were just looking at me, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is going nowhere. But then I said, I want to tell you about the 3 C's of branding. And everybody positioned themselves in their chair, and they got their paper out, they got a pen out, and they were ready, and they looked at me. I went, oh no, now I have to tell them the 3 C's of branding. I gave them the first C, and they wrote it down. I thought, oh my gosh, they're writing down what I'm saying. Then I gave the second C. They wrote that down. They took notes in my presentation. I was not expecting that at all. I was so surprised. And because I had been working with coaches and other entrepreneurs on their tools for the back of the room, I had my own back of the room. I had my call to action to give at the end of the presentation. I also had a little back of the room table set up with a banner and a sign up sheet that said, get a free checklist. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But do you know that 45-minute presentation told me one thing? People wanted to hear my message. I was shocked. That's my personal story. And is that I didn't realize that the message, the expertise that I have, other people wanted to hear. And I want to tell you that the expertise that you have, people want to hear. And if you're sharing that message and your expertise, you can then grow your business through speaking. And it's so much more effective than cold calling because you're talking to a whole group of people. You're resonating with people one-on-one. You're building that know, like, trust factor instantly as opposed to a phone call or a cold email. Think about public speaking. So the first strategy we talk about, and I've touched on it in my own personal story, is delivering value. What will you present on? Well, there's several things you can do. You have some topic takeaways. For your speaking topic, you want to make sure that you've identified 3 or 4 different skills, how-tos, points that your attendee will take away after you speak. You want them to write down the things you say. And when you do that, again, people will like you because you're on the stage. Number one, they don't want to be on stage. So they're pretty impressed when an entrepreneur or freelancer, gets on stage and takes command of the stage and captures people's attention. People love that about speakers. They're like, wow, they can do that. Guess what? You can do that too. And the topic takeaways for every presentation that you decide to talk about or present on, every topic that you decide to present on, create those 3 to 4 takeaways. I want the attendees after your presentation to be thinking about bullet number 2. I want that attendee to be going to bed and thinking about you before they fall asleep. We want the attendees to be thinking about something that you have given them on building your presentation by delivering value. Case studies is a huge thing to add to your presentation. Case studies show the results that you have provided your own clients. How I like to do it is when I provide a presentation, I talk a little bit about my journey. Then I tell people what they're going to get in the presentation. Then I give them those takeaways, which we're covering right now. And then I use some case studies. For example, I have a client named Grace. Grace Bermudez had been struggling with her visual branding for years. She had asked one graphic designer to another to help her come up with her color palette, her logos. What happened is when we met, is I actually sat down and talked to her. I listened to her. I listened to her tell me who she was, what emotion she wanted to evoke to her audience, and who her audience was. After taking that information in, we sat down for a virtual conversation where I shared my computer screen and I designed her visual branding within an hour and a half. Her colors, her fonts, and a logo. All done in an hour and a half. And guess what? She feels confident. She has self-esteem, and she is promoting that visual branding on everything she does now. That's an example of a case study. You want to draw on your client's success and use that in your presentations. Number one, it delivers value because it tells people exactly what you do. And number two, it shows the success that you can bring others. And you want to deliver that during your presentations. Another thing about that I want to point out about delivering value in your presentations, please, no sales pitches. Oh, there's nothing worse than hearing someone talk about their offer 4 or 5 times during a presentation. I can't stand that. I can't stand that. Again, I'm not a salesy person. And if you don't like cold calling and if you hate reading off of a script, you probably feel the same way. Keep that sales pitch. You can do it once, maybe twice, but keep that sales pitch at the end because you want your topic takeaways and your case studies and any facts or statistics that you want to add to your presentation. You want those to be what they call seeds. That's called seeding the minds of the attendees. Oh, this is what I need to know. This is what I need to do. Oh, I can't do it without her or him, without you. The next topic that I wanted to share with you today, next strategy, is when to say yes to the speaking event. First, who's your target audience? Think about the person that you love working with, a client that gave you extreme satisfaction, a client who benefited the most from your services. They got real results. Think about that person and begin listing out the criteria on their demographics, their age, their gender, their education. Are they professionals? Are they teenagers? Are they moms without a partner? Think about who that person really is that gave you the most joy that you would want to work with throughout your career. That's your target audience. When you've identified that, those are the events you want to find where they have that target audience. If your target audience involves female entrepreneurs between the ages of 40 and 60, and they are transformational or personal life development coaches, okay, so we're getting really particular here, then you probably don't want to go to an event where the audience is male career professionals in the age range of 20 to 35. All right, do you see the difference there? Build that criteria list. Once you have that, then as you begin looking for organizations, conferences, events to speak to, you can weed out the ones that won't have your audience. The next thing on when to say yes, there's fee versus free. But just because it's free does not mean it won't benefit your business. First, let's talk about fee. Right now, there is a huge gap between high-paid professional speakers and people like myself, or you, if you decide to start speaking to grow your business. Most of the time, the people, the entrepreneurs, the freelancers, the coaches, when they speak, they're not even expecting a fee to get paid to speak because they know that the return of investment at the back of the room will be greater, most likely, than the fee that they receive. Professional paid speakers, a lot of them are getting anywhere north of $5,000 per gig. And that's what they do full time. They're not selling coaching programs, and then some might be. They are probably selling books or CDs with, but just because it's not a paid speaking gig does not mean you won't benefit from it. So be thinking about that. Don't say no automatically. Then there's stage and virtual speaking. Hosting your own webinars, getting on a podcast, getting on a virtual TV show, being interviewed, that is just as relevant and as valid as speaking on a stage. If you're nervous about speaking, I highly suggest starting with virtual speaking first. Get used to honing your message, making sure your message is clear and concise and that it carries through. Work on it. Use some of those opportunities as a way to craft the message and make it better. Because then you can take that to the stage. And when you're on the stage, you'll probably make more of an impact. Both stage and virtual speaking have their pros and cons. The one thing about virtual speaking, it is harder to generate leads. So when you are speaking virtually on a podcast, make sure that call to action at the end of, and always have a call to action at the end of that presentation. Make sure that call to action is amazing. Make sure it's compelling and people will go, oh my gosh, I have to have that. And then direct them to your opt-in page on your website or a landing page. On the stage, the pro is you'll invite people to come see you at the back of the room. That's where you get to spend more time with them. But the con is it can take a lot of resources and investment to get there on the stage. I don't mind speaking on either platform. I'll speak on stage or virtual, but I will tell you, my ROI comes from being on stage more so than it does speaking virtually. I want you to write this down, www.radioguestlist.com, radioguestlist.com, list.com. You can find internet, radio, TV, and podcast gigs here. I definitely want you to check that out. Also, look at, for when you're just starting out, look at the Rotary, the Chamber of Commerce, Kiwanis, other nonprofit organizations to speak in front of their groups. You can go to meetup.com for that. And if you're not comfortable speaking, that's okay. There is a nonprofit organization called Toastmasters International, and they have clubs that are near you. You can find a local club. And now on to our third step, speaking tools that grow your business. All right, speaking tools to grow your business. All right, getting on stage is one thing. Now, let's draw those people to the back of the room. Hence the name of my company, Back of the Room Productions. When you draw people to the back of the room, you're getting double exposure, on and off stage exposure. And you get the opportunity to establish your credibility. The attendees saw you on stage, they know you. At the back of the room, that's when you can solidify that trust. You get to do one-on-one with them. How do you do that? I have to tell you, it's branding, and it's branded products like a tall retractable banner, a table sign, your business cards, a postcard, and I will go over some of those here. Actually, let me show you now. This is a card that I created for one of my clients that she has on her table at the back of the room. And you can see it's heavily branded with her information. She also has a CD. And this is a neat little tip that I'll share with you in a second too. But they're branded. This is how important visual branding is. When you go to a shoe store and you try on a pair of shoes, you think, oh, I like this. This shoe feels good. And you see a pair of shoes in a box that hasn't been opened. It's your size, it's your color, has everything you want. And then you see the same exact pair of shoes in a ratty box. All the stuffing has been taken out of the shoe. The shoelaces are undone. The shoes are clean. There's nothing wrong with them. They're brand new. But if you were to choose between the pristine box that, it's a crisp, clean edges on the box itself, the shoes inside are all neatly tidy and sitting there all nice and pretty. If you have a choice between that one or the one that's falling out of the box and the packaging is strewn everywhere, which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose the shoes in the new box. And that's how visual branding works. If you're standing side by side to a competitor, to someone who does almost the same thing you do with the same kind of value, same kind of message, and you're the one that has the 7-foot-tall banner, that has the business cards, a little giveaway like this, who do you think people are going to be attracted to? They're going to be attracted to the person that looks polished. Looking polished means gives you a sense of authority, professionalism. So think about that. Make sure you have that in place. Lead generating tools. This is, again, a show and tell. This is a form that I put on my table every time I speak. And it is a form that gathers information. It's not just a sales form. I want to show you. Up at the top, I'm gathering information. Would you like to receive my 7 tools speakers need to get more business? Would you like a 30-minute free coaching call? Would you like to deliver speaking tips to your email? And they fill it out. Down here, I have my offerings, and I get their information here, but I'm really not so much concerned about this, because once I have this information, as a matter of fact, I'll show you how much I'm not concerned about that. I will make just a small little sheet of paper that people fill out, and they check what they want. They fill it out. They put it in my stack, in my little box that I have where they keep it, and where I keep these little sheets. The cool thing is, now I can call them. This is a warm lead, y'all. This is not a cold call. This is a warm lead, because that person came to me after I spoke and said, oh, I want more of you. And that's what you want. You want them to get more of you. Well, if you don't have something like this at the back of the room, how are you going to know? How are you going to find out that they want more of your message, more of your value? So that's speaker tip tool number 1, is have a lead gen. You can even make it fancy, where I put a sign up that says, enter to receive your free report on 7 tools speakers need to get more business. And I put this in front of a box, and people fill this slip out and pop it in there. Another strategy idea is I offer a free speaker and branding group strategy call after every presentation. And I have a little card that I have people fill out and pop into that box. Another idea, I love this one. This is my favorite. This lady, Susan Mead, is a client of mine, and she wanted to have a leave behind, very much like Katrina Sawa, very much like Sean Carroll. We created this postcard so that people could take this home and think about his message. But what's cool about this card, it's a little inspirational saying on the front and on the back. It tells about her, talks about her book and what she does. But then we have this cool perforated tear-off card that asks questions like, I want the free 5-day mini course. Notify me of the Leap Faith Builds Bridges podcast. I want to receive your digital worksheet. And they put their name and their email. They check off which one they want or all of them. And then on the back we have, do you know an organization where Susan can speak? Refer us. And we collect information that way. I love this speaking tool. It's so useful because you can put this at the back of the room. You can set this on the tables where attendees are sitting in the chairs, and they will take it home. A lot of times people will put a postcard on their fridge or a filing cabinet because it's pretty or because it has a message that resonates with them. And then on the back, it has your information. Those are just some of the ideas that you can use for generating leads. I want to go back to this CD. I've had several people ask me to design their CDs because some people are tangible. It's great to give away an audio. You can do that, but people like tangible products. So having something tangible, people are more apt to hold on to it and review it because it's in their hands. So think about that. And that's how you give your audience more with speaking tools. One of the things, before I go here, one of the things I really want you to take away is that if you're going to speak in front of an audience, if you're going to share your message, if you're going to share your expertise, have a way for these people to get in contact with you, reach out to you, and vice versa. I want you to be able to gather their information so that you can contact them, so that your message lives long after you leave the stage. That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. Finally, I have the Successful Speaker's Handbook. I may be a speaker. I'm not perfect. I'm human. Tools, strategies, and ideas to elevate your expertise as a speaker. This is from Tom Ziglar, the CEO of Ziglar Inc., also proud son of Zig Ziglar, endorsed my book and said, everything you need to know to get started or brush up on what you may have overlooked. Great and thorough information for the speaker, very helpful. You can go to my website at backoftheroomproductions.com to buy it. You can go to Amazon to buy it. But again, this is the Successful Speaker's Handbook. And I would love for you to connect with me. If you'd like the 7 free speaking tools to grow your business, you can go to backoftheroomproductions.com to pick that up. It's free. I'll just send it to your email. And I promise not to blast you. I think I've already proven that I'm not a salesy person. And I hope that you gathered a lot of information from this presentation on how you can do things differently. You can be a speaker. You do have value and expertise that other people want to hear. Share it with the world. Start telling people your message today. And make sure you have the speaking tools in place to get a return of investment. Monetize your message.